Hello, I'm Ryan from Sports Carnage Podcast, here to discuss the Pistons' loss to the Wizards and really kind of just how do you lose to the Washington Wizards. I know you're obviously on the road and you're shorthanded, but the Wizards are such a bad team that it doesn't make sense to drop a game really just to a team like this. Now, the Pistons, I think that they would, if they wanted to gripe about the officiating, that's something that I think they'd have a very strong case for, specifically, and not that it cost them the game or anything, but specifically they had a weak tech on Christian Wood after he dunked all over Rui Hachimura's face, and then they called the tech on Luke Kennard for swinging his elbow after he got called for an offensive foul, which looked like a flop. I think it was Bradley Beal. But then, so on the other end of that is two obviously techs for the Pistons. And then on the other end, every time Thomas Bryant did something, whether it was a dunk, whether it was a block shot, he's out here doing the Thriller from Michael Jackson dance, or the Michael Jackson Thriller dance, and they're not doing anything. What is he doing back there? But regardless, it's still a terrible loss. And if you're going to point to anything in the game that really kind of was the turning point, it was the third quarter. The Pistons only scored 17 points, and they got outscored by 13 points in that quarter alone, and they ended up losing by 16. So, obviously just do the math. That's the quarter that killed them. And coming into halftime, it was a pretty encouraging sign because they were down 17 before the half. It's like 37-54, and then they rallied off a huge run to only go into halftime down. I think they're only down 2 going into half. Here 61-63. So they fought back, and then you thought, okay, the Wizards had their run, and now the Pistons are going to be able to maybe run away with the rest of the game. And then you just kind of saw more of what you saw in the first half of the second quarter leak into the third quarter. And then really at the end of the game, it was more so Dwayne Casey just kind of fooling around with the lineups and seeing what he had. The game was obviously out of reach at the end, so you saw a guy like Svi Mykhailiuk. He played a lot tonight, and he's the guy that finished the game. Jordan Bone got some pity minutes at the end, just trying to get him on the court and see what he can do. And then Kyrie Thomas also finished the game along with Tony Snell and Christian Wood. And if you're going to take some positives out the game, Christian Wood had another good performance, 5 of 6, and he knocked down. I want to say he knocked down more than 1 3, but that might be wrong. Yeah, so he was 2 for 2 from beyond the arc, and he had a nice step back in like the first quarter or second quarter or something like that. And then as far as the rest of the Pistons, Andre Drummond had a really rough game, and he's been playing fantastic for really for the entire season. So he's afforded a bad game, obviously. But tonight, where he was going up, against a guy like Thomas Bryant, who's not this premier center in the NBA, you'd expect better than a 6 for 20 performance out of him. And, he's still able to nab 24 rebounds and get 15 points. So especially, being on the glass, the numbers were definitely there. But watching the game, he missed a lot of close shots. And then he'd get the rebound to add to that rebounding total, and then he missed those close shots even more. A rough game for Tony Snell, 4 of 14. Luke Kennard played okay. He is 6 for 12, but it seemed like they were calling so for Luke Kennard, it seemed like he was getting probably most frustrated with the officiating. Obviously, he had the technical foul on the offensive foul that he didn't feel was an offensive foul. But there were just kind of other points in the game where either Luke didn't get a call because he only had 2 fouls called on him. But, he's driving to the basket and not getting calls. And you could tell that was kind of getting to him a little bit. And then the same thing with Drummond as well. I'm sure, part of the reason he was 6 for 20 is he was getting hacked down there and he just wasn't getting called. Albert says, ice cold shooting for the Pistons basically turned into doom. Yeah, they didn't shoot well at all. We mentioned Tony Snell, 4 of 14, Andre Drummond, 6 of 20. Everyone else was kind of about where you'd expect them to be. Markieff Morris only took 4 shots, but he hit 2 of them. Luke Kennard, we just mentioned, hit 6 of 12. And then Bruce Brown was 5 of 12, so really not far behind Luke at all. And today, what you got to see was a little bit more of Point Bruce, and he had a mixed bag of results. So he is fairly close to a triple-double, 14 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. So you like kind of all of that activeness, and you can see why the Pistons like him, why the Pistons keep giving him opportunities, because all the starters besides Markieff played really big minutes tonight. Bruce Brown, 37, Luke, 34, Drummond, 39. Snell played 33, but Bruce Brown also had 4 turnovers. So you can see, him being a young player, he's still not, he's still not just obviously fully adapted to not only, kind of playing in the NBA, but definitely not, running point guard in the NBA. But there were some things to like for sure there from what you saw from Bruce Brown. And then again, Christian Wood came off the bench and had a pretty good performance. Langston Galloway, I liked what I saw out of Svi for the minutes that he got in there, and he played 27 minutes. So he was a guy that Dwayne Casey was going to tonight. Kind of early in offense, seeing how he mixed in with the different lineups. He probably played with the Pistons played. Obviously, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the Pistons played, it looks like 11 guys in the game today, and Svi was probably on the court with the rest of the 10 guys over there. Any updates on Blake and Rose injuries? So Rose has obviously been out, and it looks like that he might be out for a little while longer. But there was good news with Blake. They didn't put an official timetable on it, at least not that I saw. But Blake Griffin, it sounds like you can expect him back within the next game or two. It was reported that he's very close to making his season debut, and even heading into the season, they said he'd be out through the first week in November, and we're essentially at the first week of November here. So Blake should really be coming back any game. I'd expect probably in the next definitely within the next 2 games. I think you can expect to see Blake Griffin. And for Derrick Rose, Derrick Rose injury update, maybe. When you type in Blake, it just pops up. But Derrick Rose injury at home. So it doesn't questionable to face. Oh, that doesn't help me out. So no, it doesn't look like there's really any more new news on Derrick Rose's injury. And obviously, Reggie's out for so basically the next month. Which again, you can see the Pistons really trying to find their way at point guard without all those guys. And then Tim Frazier didn't play tonight too. So that's why you saw a lot of Bruce Brown handling the ball, saw a lot of Luke handling the ball, and then I wouldn't, and it was Svi Mykhailiuk as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Jordan Bone get some more minutes next game. One guy who was kind of noticeably not absent from the lineup because he played. He just didn't play a lot, and probably because he played so bad when he was out there, was Thon Maker. It looks like the Pistons are trying to move away from the Thon Maker experiment as much as they can. He only played 8 minutes tonight. He's a real non-factor out there. He didn't score. He didn't even shoot the ball. No assists, no rebounds. He had 1 block and 3 fouls. So he's a real net negative tonight on the court. And just as the Pistons get healthier, especially as Blake gets back and you can move Markieff down to that spot, and with kind of the emergence of Christian Wood, I'd expect the Pistons to definitely make a move to get Thon Maker off of the team. I don't know how soon that comes, if it's, within the next week or so, but definitely before the trade deadline. I don't think you'll see Thon here. How many injuries do we have so far? Well, if you want to count Tim Frazier because he's on the team, you can, but that's not really like an impact injury. The only reason Tim Frazier's injury matters is because all the other point guards are injured. But Frazier's hurt. Sekou was in concussion protocol, and then he just got assigned to Grand Rapids. So that's 2 right there. Derrick Rose, obviously, Blake, and then Reggie Jackson. So that's 5 right there, and 2 of those guys are starters. Well, yeah, 2 of those guys are starters, and Derrick Rose gets, obviously kind of pseudo starter minutes. But those are your 3, of your 5 most important players. Glad Casey's playing Wood more than Thon. Yeah, and I mean, he definitely deserves it. Wood kind of does a lot of the things that you thought Thon Maker could do when the Pistons got him here, as sort of like a reclamation project where, Thon can shoot the ball, and Christian Wood can shoot the ball, and that's something that you kind of hope Thon would be able to do, and he's just not done that. So you get Christian Wood in here, shooting the ball. He was able to grab some rebounds tonight too. Like I said, 2 blocks. So he definitely made his presence known. But he's definitely somebody who's going to take over Thon Maker's role in the rotation. No question about it. With the weak Eastern Conference, I know it's early in the season. The way it's looking, Pistons seem to be a 7th or 8th seed again. Yeah, and I think that's at least where I had them pegged. Coming into the year was probably that 7th seed. I know, kind of things broke right. They could probably get to 5 or 6, but just a few of the teams in the East, I felt really no matter what happened, barring like a catastrophic injury to one of those teams, they were all going to be better than the Pistons. Obviously the Bucks, the Celtics, the Raptors still, I think, were definitely going to be better than the Pistons. Philadelphia. And then after that, you can kind of take your pick, but I still liked Brooklyn and Indiana over the Pistons roster. So to me, the Pistons were really looking at like 7th seed. But if they fall a spot because they keep losing so many of these early games, then that's definitely, they can fall to 8. I don't think they'll miss the playoffs because I guess, they still do have to get their best player back, who's the most important player on the team. But it's really hard to kind of keep dropping games, and then at the end of the season, especially if you're in a dogfight for the 8th seed, to make up that ground. And the first part of the season for the Pistons was supposed to be easier than basically like after the All-Star break. So we'll see kind of what they look like when Blake gets back, but they do need to go on. I think in order just to kind of calm everyone down who's at least paying attention now, they definitely need to go on, like a 4 or 5 game win streak when Blake gets back to calm everybody's nerves and right the ship. But another positive, I guess, is that they shot well from 3 and they didn't really shoot well from anywhere else. They were 13 of 27 from 3, but only 34 of 82 for the game, and shooting way better on 3s than they did throughout the game. Another thing that you might not particularly care for is Luke Kennard's shot. He missed 2 free throws. He shot 11 of them, so he still made 9. But during the game, and not that it mattered in a 16-point game, but during the game, it's something that caught my eye at least, as well as, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but it wasn't the end of the 4th. It was like midway through the 4th. It looked like Andre Drummond had a pretty clear tip back into the Wizards basket. I didn't see any Wizards on that part of the floor, and it looked like Andre Drummond, the ball came off the rim and he smacked it, and then it just went right off the backboard into it. And obviously, it wasn't on purpose, and it wasn't shaving points or anything like that. But it certainly looked, it certainly kind of didn't look like it was on accident either. But there might have been a Wizard there that just kind of missed my eye. But I wanted to throw that out there to see if any of you guys saw it. Other than that, our bench got the bench got outplayed, but and Washington played like 12 guys. 2 of those guys got in like garbage time minutes stuff. But Bradley Beal, a guy that I know a lot of Pistons fans wanted, he was the leading scorer for the Wizards, not the leading scorer in the game. That was Luke, but he played fairly well. Again, Thomas Bryant was a guy that you didn't want to see be able to, and not that he worked Andre Drummond over because they only have 14 points and 7 boards, but Thomas Bryant was definitely somebody that you noticed was on the court, and he made a lot of big plays for the Wizards. And then especially early on, Rui Hachimura was just eating the Pistons alive in the first quarter. I think he had 10 points in the first quarter, and he finished with 12 overall. But 5 of 7, only 16 minutes, and they were kind of riding the hot hand early. And then Mo Wagner of Michigan Wolverine fame came off the bench and gave the Wizards 12. And the Wizards had 3 guys on the bench who scored over 12 points. and the Pistons had one, which was Christian Wood. But it was really just the overall bad game for the Pistons. Albert, I wish the Pistons should have kept Joe Johnson after the preseason ended. I saw something good in the Pistons before he got let go. So if you believe that the competition at the end was between Christian Wood and Joe Johnson, it's a no-brainer to keep Christian Wood and let Joe Johnson go. But I still don't understand how Kyrie Thomas made the team over Joe Johnson. It doesn't seem like Kyrie Thomas gives you really anything to be excited about. I know he's of course younger, but I don't see a path for Kyrie Thomas to become really part of the Pistons' future. So I wanted Joe Johnson on the team as well. And the kind of obvious guy for me to pluck off was Kyrie. But that's really all we have for tonight. One of our shorter videos for you guys. If you did enjoy what you heard, you can hear more of me as well as 3 other very, very intelligent individuals on our Sports Carnage podcast, which drops every Thursday. This week it might drop on Friday, only because we're recording a day later. But we're going to have reactions to the Champions Classic, college basketball. Michigan State takes on, I think they take on Kentucky. So it's a preseason matchup of number 1 versus number 2. Very exciting. You can't see it because the mic's in the way, but I do have my Michigan State basketball shirt. You can probably see it there. But I do have my Michigan State basketball shirt on, so I'm very excited about that. We'll rap about the Lions a little bit and their horrible loss Sunday against the Raiders. And then what else do we have? I don't even know off the top of my head, but I promise I'll be more prepared when you guys end up listening to the cast than I am now. But definitely college basketball preview, definitely talking about the Lions, and then whatever other nonsense we can kind of think up. But that is all we have for tonight. Again, you can find Sports Carnage, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Just type it into Google and take your search from there. We have the link here in the Facebook description for you. And this live video, if you missed any of it, or if you really liked it and you want to go back and watch it again, this will probably be on our YouTube page in about 10 minutes or so. But thank you guys for joining me, and have a great night. Trojans, oh no, all about the Spartans and the Pistons. Go Pistons, go Detroit. Have a good night.